In this video, I will show you step by step just an overview of how to create a virtual band. You can also use this for virtual orchestra or virtual choir, but I'll just use the word virtual band to keep it simple. Now, the first step really is to choose your music. And not just that, but to choose whether you're going to have each of your students do more of a solo format, or a small ensemble format, or use a full band arrangement. Now, one advantage to having the students do more of a solo format where each one of them's playing the melody is that you can have each student just do a small segment of the whole piece, and then you can layer them 2 or 3 at a time, or have them play each a solo one at a time. But you have a little more flexibility that way, and they each only have to record a small part of the full song. Another advantage to doing a solo format is that you can use a professional quality accompaniment. And that just makes everyone sound better. They're only playing, part of the whole sound that you're getting, and a big part of the sound is a professional quality accompaniment. Now, if you choose to do a full band arrangement, you typically have each student record the entire piece from beginning to end, and that can be more difficult to get good results with, but it's doable. Now, when you're making a video like this, the question always arises, do you need to get copyright permission from the composer or publisher? If you think your video is going to get widespread distribution, then this would be a bigger concern. Now, as I'm making this video, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 shutdowns in spring and summer of 2020. And so during this time, a lot of publishers and composers have proactively made it clear that they're going to be generous with copyright issues. As for me, I didn't really bother to seek special copyright permission because I teach at a small middle school, and really the only people that are going to see it are my own students and their parents and families. And I figure if I bought their works and we were going to perform it in a live concert, then it's fair to perform it in a virtual concert during this time especially. One of the challenges that can take a lot of time up front is to create a play-along track. Before your students can record themselves playing the music, they are going to need a play-along track to practice with, but also they're going to need a play-along track going in their ears as they are performing to make sure that each student's performance lines up with everyone else's. This is the Quarantine Quash Up play-along track. Get ready to play. Here is Shrek 1. Rest, 2, 3, ready, play. A metronome or a click track is usually not enough. It's going to cause too many problems, too many timing issues, and there's going to be too many mistakes. So you really do have to have a good play-along track featuring most or all of the parts together. So you may be able to already find a full recording of the piece you're going to do, but you may also have to add some talking ahead of it, or a count off at the beginning of it, or you may have to add additional parts by yourself. And so that can be time consuming. Do realize that your students will have to use 2 separate devices as they are recording themselves. One to listen to the play-along track, and the second one to record the actual video. Now with cell phones these days, this is very easy. You'll probably want to have them use a cell phone to record themselves, and then the second device they use can be a computer or another cell phone. You're going to need to create a document describing to your students every step that they'll need to take from the beginning to end of this process. You'll need to figure out how to have the students submit their videos to you. You can use a Google Drive folder, or you can use Canvas or Google Classroom to have them upload all of their videos to you. Now, what software are you going to need to do all this stuff? Well, first you will need to use some audio editing software. I use GarageBand on my MacBook, which comes free with every Mac device. But other options are Logic Pro, which is the full professional version of GarageBand. and SoundForge. You can also use Audacity, which is free. You can download and use for free, unlimited. But I find that program is not very intuitive or versatile, but it does seem to have plenty of power to do all the things you need to. Second, you'll need some video editing software. I use Adobe Premiere for 2 reasons. Number one, it is the industry standard for editing video, has all the power and the features you could ever want to use. And number 2, it's free for me because my district has a deal with Adobe, and they're able to offer the Adobe suite to all of the teachers in the district for free, but you just have to ask. So you may need to look into that yourself and see if your school or your district has that kind of a deal with Adobe. Another popular option is Final Cut Pro, but there are also plenty of other options available, I think. You can't just use iMovie. iMovie, for example, only allows you to edit 2 videos at the same time, and you're going to have to do way more than that for this kind of a project. Thirdly, you will want to use some video optimizing software, which sounds complicated, but it's very simple. There's a free program you can download called Handbrake. And Handbrake allows you to take giant files, because when the students send you their videos, they're going to be 100 to 300 to 500 megabytes big, each one. And that becomes too cumbersome, and it uses up all of your space on your computer. And so you'll want to use Handbrake to shrink each of those files down to like 5 megabytes each. And it takes a little bit of time, but it's pretty simple. Now, there's 2 other things that I consider optional software. One is another free piece of software called Audacity that I mentioned before, which allows you to quickly separate the audio from the video files. And so if you want to do that, and if you want to edit the audio separately, you just throw each video into Audacity and then save it, which takes out the video, and then you save each audio file separately. The last one would be graphic editing software like Photoshop, which is what I use. It's another Adobe product, so it's free for me. And I use that for creating titles and creating grids to go on top of all the videos, and any other graphics that I might want to throw into my video. So the next step is to collect all the student videos and organize them and optimize them so they're small enough to use all together. And then there's an optional step. If you want higher quality audio, then you'll need to, again, take all the audio files out of the videos and then edit all the audio separately. Just make a beautiful audio file of all the different parts. Now, editing the audio takes a lot of time just to do by itself. Things that you'll need to do include adjusting the overall volume of each student so you have a good balance. You'll adjust the volume of certain notes or phrases or soloists over the accompaniment. You'll want to adjust minor rhythm or timing mistakes. Even with the video that I made using all professional musicians, I was surprised at how many notes did not line up vertically because of slight rhythmic variations in each person's performance. You can add extra percussion sounds or other virtual instrument sounds. You can delete or hide the occasional wrong note. You can also add reverb or adjust the EQ to enhance the bass or decrease unwanted high frequencies. Now, you can do a lot of that audio editing in Adobe Premiere and not have to do that separate step. You can do a lot of that stuff as you're editing the video, and it works out pretty well, which is what I did for most of my videos. I didn't edit the audio separately, I just did them inside the video editing software. So how do you edit the videos now? Well, by this time you've already invested 10, 15, 20 hours in just preparing everything and then helping the students do their videos and then collecting them and all that stuff. But now we get to really the fun part. The first step here then is to put each student video in and to stack them on top of each other. And I like to do different scenes with only 5 to 10 students at a time. And then I can flash back and forth between the different scenes. It's easier to do this with just a handful of students than to try to get all 20 or 50 videos all stacked on top of each other on one screen at a time. That can be really cumbersome, and your computers may not be able to handle that. Also, this way each student gets several moments of glory where you see them prominently on the screen, and you make sure that each student gets that time to be featured on the screen. You can also use a grid to create a black border between each video and to help you decide like how to space the videos. or you can just have each video bumped up next to each other. Both are seen commonly in virtual bands. Now, using Adobe Premiere, you can both resize each video, and you can also crop them, which means you can change the shape of each video that the student sent you. They may have sent you a portrait mode video, which is going to be this way, right? A long one like this, where you can crop off the bottom of that to go up to just where their face is or whatever. And so you can do both those things using it, Adobe Premiere, and I think Final Cut Pro gives you the same options. So once they're all stacked and visible, then you align them left to right. You get all the audio lined up, and you can see the audio waveform and use that to get them all stacked vertically like this. Now that doesn't mean that as you go through from beginning to the end that everyone's audio is going to stay lined up. Again, you may have to edit some of the audio things. People may come in early or make all kinds of other mistakes like that. So you can edit the audio in Adobe Premiere also, or do it separately, as I mentioned before. So at this point, remember, I'm doing different scenes from beginning to end of the song, or a segment of the song with just a few students at a time. So we export that into separate files, to a separate file for each scene. And then you can bring all those final scenes together. In my case, it's like 7 different scenes. And then I stack those on top of each other. And then I can decide when to cut out of this scene and into this other scene, when to change between those scenes from beginning to end of the whole video. At this point, you can add fun effects or transitions. You can add titles and all those other finishing touches. So that's it. That's the whole process. I found it takes about 4 hours plus 10 to 15 minutes per student to make a video like this. If you're a beginner, it might take you more like 10 to 15 hours plus 10 to 15 minutes per student. It does add up pretty fast to 20 or 30 hours per virtual band you're making. So you got to look ahead and decide if you can afford to take that time to make this work. Now, if you do want to do it, then look for my next video in this series, because I'm going to show you every step, and it's not that hard. It's not that complicated. It's not that technical. It's fun, but it will take a lot of time.